Lakers, so a lot of veteran leadership heading into the first-round matchup with Portland. They also apparently like being around one another, unlike here.
Our chemistry on our team is strong, so our guys have really enjoyed being around each other. And, that hasn't been an issue where I think there's some teams, if your chemistry isn't strong, too much time together could be a bad thing. But our guys have really come together even stronger than we've been in the regular season. They've had a lot of fun together, and I think it's going to benefit us in this bubble situation.
We know what time it is. I mean, we have a lot of vets on this team. It's time to lock in and focus, regardless of what's happened before the bubble, in the bubble, up to this point. None of it matters. We have to be ready from the tip, from game one, from the jump. Anything can happen in the playoffs. Momentum, energy can shift. Hopefully stay healthy. That's the biggest key. The team that's the healthiest and playing the best is going to be a team that's going to be the last team standing. So we have enough veterans and leaders and guys that have been there to understand what's at I guess, the task at hand and the seriousness of the atmosphere and the challenge that we have ahead of us.
I feel like the team chemistry is definitely elevated just because we're forced to hang out with each other a lot more, literally every day, morning, afternoon, and night, we see each other. So it's not bad at all. I definitely feel like it brings our camaraderie up, and it's definitely going to show up on the court during the playoffs.
It's interesting. I have to start with this. When you hear that beep beep sound when the players are talking, that's the media getting too close. They're within 6 feet, so it's telling them to back up. So Medina and Goon, back up.
It's what happens when Geeter gets too close to me here at work.
Yeah. Well, actually, I get shocked. It's an amazing thing.
Don't listen to him when he says that our chemistry is off. BT, you know that too.
I have a bracelet around my leg. Listen, team chemistry, unlike this set, has been on display all year long. Al, you've traveled with this team. How important has it been for this Laker team?
I think it's the biggest. We are close here at Spectrum. I can't get off of that. I think it's the biggest key as to why they've been so successful as quick as they have. You look at that graphic right there just moments ago, and you talked about the combined 10 championships. Within that, one might think you could have egos. You could have guys who are already established, don't want to give up anything, and want to play in the way in which they have to this point of their career. That's not the case with this Lakers squad, and I think it's something that's very admirable. You heard J.R. Smith say after that final seeding game that LeBron James, the leader of this squad, as we always talk about, he is such a camaraderie guy. He likes to take guys to dinner. He likes to take the whole team to dinner. It's a long-lasting affair. They can't necessarily do that right now in the bubble, but he's buying gifts. He's making sure every guy understands their role, knows their value, and I think it's going to help them, like JaVale just said, come the playoffs.
And BT, you just heard what I said about the veteran experience, 10 championships. How much can that help a team in a long, tough series that goes 6 or 7 games?
Look, as what Adam said, this began back in July and August when LeBron took the entire team to Las Vegas to build that chemistry. And when all the veterans get together and say that's a great idea, to have that many guys that have won championships, if you get down 2-1 in the series, it's not over. If you get down by 20 in a game, it is not over. You always stay focused until the last second is off the clock. You have a chance. And because these guys have won these titles together, they know that until it's over, you still have a chance to win the championship.
Well said, BT. Now listen, when you're going to be in an NBA bubble in Orlando for what could possibly be 3+ months, you better find some activities to keep you occupied during your downtime. Most people FaceTime with friends and family, play video games to pass the time, a little Madden tournament. Others like to relax and enjoy the great outdoors. In this episode of Backstage Lakers, our cameras follow JaVale McGee, Alex Caruso, and the Rook, THT, as they go fishing. On Access, the Lakers had their ups and downs in the NBA restart seeding games. Here's how they fared. They went 3-5, gave up 113 points per game, only shot 30% from 3. That's the lowest in the bubble. Lakers head coach Frank Vogel wasn't getting too high or low with what he has seen so far in Orlando.
Whether it was these seeding games or the end of an 82-game regular season, if you have seeding locked up for a stretch of time, there's benefits and drawbacks from that. Certainly we saw some benefits from a standpoint of being able to manage rest appropriately, as well as look at extended minutes for some other guys. But with that comes, the lack of intensity of a big important game, for a stretch of time. So, but it's not something that those guys haven't been through before. That's something I haven't been through before, and we're ready to tighten the screws.
Where are you at with your shot? Had some of the off days before the playoffs helped with that process, getting more comfortable?
I mean, as a shooter, that happens. You're going to go through phases and lows, but the odds are in my favor at this point. So I'm looking at the positives and the bright side, but I've not lost any confidence or, not hesitating and taking my shot. So I feel very comfortable, feeling like I'm starting to get back to my normal self. But we won't know till we get to day one. Right now, my biggest focus is defense more than anything. Trying to stop those guys, whoever it is that we end up playing, is going to be a tough task defensively. And then we have to get back and get out and run. That's our best offense for us. And then we'll get some easy shots. So I'm not worried about it too much. So the odds are in my favor. I think the numbers, when that worm will turn for us in general, for our whole team, because we as a team haven't shot greatly. But I think we're starting to try to find our rhythm. We're trying to make the extra pass and trust each other better.
For the first 5 games, Lakers struggled shooting the three, but more to what Vogel said, guys, they didn't really have the sense of urgency with things already locked up. It's really hard to judge. So, Allie, do you think any of their struggles carry over, or is there a question mark for you?
I don't think so. I think that they will be where they should be when it comes to shooting the basketball, whether that's the mid-range game or even just the 3-ball. But I actually would take it one step further and say that for me, the question mark, it's not a concern by any means, but my curiosity lies on the defensive end of the floor. And I know a lot of people put a lot of attention on Danny Green, for example, just because we heard from him right there and the way he shot the ball here in these seeding games. But I love what he just said about the defensive end of the floor, because that test is going to come quick. And it starts on Tuesday with the Portland Trail Blazers. And again, as we just mentioned, there were a top defensive team going into obviously the COVID hiatus. And I think they need to get back to that level. And especially they're going to have to do it without a guy like Avery.
Yeah, and BT, I want to go to you with Danny Green. I love what you said, Allie, and I agree with it. But what we've seen from him in the playoffs, do you expect him to be able to flip the switch, BT?
No, you do.
Danny Green.
You hope that does. With Danny Green, you hope that does happen, because he shot the ball so poorly in bubble games, but he didn't shoot very well during the season either. Now you wonder if because he was waiting for the playoffs to get here, and he has won 2 NBA championships in San Antonio last year in Toronto, so we know what he can do. But the key thing for me, Allie, really is the Lakers are getting a chance to practice. Mm-hmm. They were playing almost every other day, which meant they did not practice at all, from what I understand. So now they get a chance to get up some shots. They get to rest their legs. And the key word for me was Danny Green says 2 things. I have confidence. We have confidence, but we also must make sure we play defense. If we don't play defense, all the offense in the world won't help us.
Good stuff, BT. I want to flip gears a little bit here. LeBron James making an impact in Los Angeles, partnering with the Dodgers to set up polling at Dodger Stadium for the upcoming election. And LeBron releasing this statement. I may still be new to LA, but didn't take long for me to learn how special the relationship is between Dodgers and Lakers. We're all in this together. I'm really proud we were able to help the Dodgers become the first MLB stadium to open for voting. This is exactly why we created More Than a Vote. A lot of us now working together and here for every team who wants to follow the Dodgers' lead and turn their stadium into a safer place for voting. Allie, cannot stress enough how important this is.
No, and this is where it's going to be a little different for LeBron James come this time of season, postseason. Normally he shuts off his social media, he shuts off his phone, he dials in that much more when it comes to things between the lines. But he said he's not going to do that. And this is just another element. This is another example of who he wants to be, what he stands for outside the lines. And it continues to be very strong. It's also one of the things I've always said about great leaders. Not only are they able to lead, but they're also willing to be led. And his ability to listen and partner with the Dodgers and make this kind of impact just speaks volumes of who he is.
BT, how proud are you of these players and the way they're using their platforms?
Man, unreal. Like, I grew up a Dodger fan, and the idea that the two of them, LeBron James and the Dodgers, can come together with this partnership, the idea that the NBA players are never forgetting, they're staying on message, they're staying in the moment, they're making sure that everyone does the right things. And look, it inspires me to do better, to be better. It inspires me to tell my friends, don't stop being a good person. Don't stop doing good things. if NBA players can do this, if Major League Baseball players can do this, like Mookie with the Dodgers, if all these people can do these things, so can we. And if we do that, we can have a better world and a better United States.
Well said, BT. And by the way, you're pretty good, man. All right, still to come on Access. What is there to do on an off day in Orlando? Ahead, we'll take you backstage with JaVale and company as they cast their lines out and go fishing.